Andersen from Ghita Therapy.
I'm Kathie,
And today we're going to do an exercise in active listening. It's also known as reflective listening. Now this is something that I often do with couples and couples counselling because people have problem communicating. So they don't really know how to be heard with each other.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we don't feel heard, what happens? It escalates into a bit of an argument, doesn't it? Or power play, or you don't listen to me, or whatever it is. So it's the quickest way to go into an argument is not listening to each other.
That's true.
The other person doesn't feel respected or cared for. Right, so we're going to do this exercise.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just going to forget that the camera's there as usual. And we're going to try it. So Kathie, what was something in the last week that you had a chat to somebody and you really didn't feel heard? And you can just tell me about it.
Yes, well, I had a good talk to my daughter, one of them, because I was going away for a long weekend.
Yeah.
And of course, she didn't want to hear anything to say, she didn't want to go, so she just started arguing.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys, had a little bit of a tiff, and
Yeah.
it was because you wanted to have a conversation about this weekend, about where you were going, and she just wasn't really listening.
She didn't want to. She didn't want to know about it because it upsets her plans,
Mm-hmm.
and yes.
Okay, so there's a sort of emotional feeling around this that it was going to affect your weekend as well, and you couldn't really kind of get through to her. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it was only just for about 3 nights, but of course, she repetitiously has to have it done. Everything has to be in order for her to function.
Yeah.
She doesn't leave any room to, if anything happens in this time, how to handle the how to handle the situation. So she just has to have it her way or no way.
So it sounds like that sort of really had quite an effect on you, is that her inflexibility was becoming problematic.
Yes.
Because then it was just upsetting other people's weekend as well, or your plans as well.
It wasn't just her, she was upsetting probably about half a dozen people.
Okay.
Because, and it really escalates because she was just going off.
Okay, so what could have been just a normal conversation or just a discussion about the weekend just sort of escalated in something else, and something a bit negative.
Yes, definitely. She just didn't want to hear anything.
Okay,
so it was hard to get through to her. Yeah.
Right. So you really had trouble communicating everyone else's needs to her. She was kind of upsetting the apple cart for you guys.
Yeah.
So what was the outcome? What happened then?
Well, I just had to say, well, look, we won't talk about it now. Let's say that we'll give it a couple of days to settle down, so that she can have a good night's sleep, or to have a change of her attitude towards what was going on. Maybe I would have been able to rearrange her days so that she could, so she still didn't miss out on going out to these special places she wanted to go to, but just to rearrange it so that I could have that Friday, because it was on the Friday that we leave, and then come back Sunday. So she doesn't.
So it sounded like
it was just that one day I needed to rearrange everything. Yeah.
So it sounded like you kind of used a bit of a solution-focused method on her by giving her, the option of delaying things, so that you guys could go away, cool off a little bit, have a little think about, the repercussions to everybody and what was the best option.
Yes.
So was it that you delayed it a day? Did you delay it a day? Or?
Yes, I delayed it a couple of days and tried to. She seemed to settle down a little bit, but that's it's taken a little bit of it just left a better taste in your mouth. That anything could escalate just over one day of going away.
Yeah.
But
so did that really shock you that something so minimal just actually escalated so quickly, like 0 to kind of 100 really quickly? And you feel like did it really solve itself? Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't.
Has it? Yeah. Well, I think she will. She had finally, because I could change the day. She'd settled down, but as it turns out, the day couldn't be fixed anyway. So she has to miss out on that one day. But the solution that I discovered, the hours that this person takes her out, they've decided to use those hours for the echo. So that was the solution as well. So
it's almost as if the solution presented itself.
It did, but it was wow.
So it kind of went
stressing, very stressing.
So very stressful for you, it sounds like, but at the same time, by delaying, the solution kind of presented itself because the other people involved couldn't be more flexible.
That's it.
So in the end of the day, she had to do what they wanted, and it really wasn't up to you or anyone else.
No. Yeah. She seemed to accept it better for the other people that couldn't do it, and they explained rather than me. Maybe it's because I'm mum and everything might be. Yeah.
So
you've got to do it my way or no way. Yeah.
So it's very interesting how children can often take advice from somebody else that may have different needs to the parents, but then when the parents offer the same solution, they don't want to listen to that. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
So it's kind of a funny thing, isn't it? Yeah. Because you wanted to be listened to, but at the end of the day, you kind of probably got your way anyway by backing off, and the other people coming forward and saying we actually can't do it your way. Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is interesting.
So just with a little delay there, it's kind of all come right.
It fixed itself.
Yeah. It's funny how parents often get that happening.
Exactly.
Such is life.
Yeah, so with a bit of luck, we'll enjoy ourselves.
I'm sure you will. Well, how do you feel that went? Do you feel like you were a little bit validated in what you have to say?
Absolutely.
A little bit validated in your feelings about your situation?
Yes, I did, because you just feel left out in a limb. Before.
And parents need to sort of vent and offload too when they feel like they're trying to help and the other person isn't being flexible.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how did you find this exercise? Was it helpful?
It was great. Thank you. Yeah,
okay.
Lovely. It's nice to be heard.
It's nice to be heard, isn't it?
Yes.
So sometimes it's interesting, and I'll just come back to the camera again. It's interesting that sometimes we just need to be heard, and one complaint that a lot of women have in couples counselling is that their partners don't listen to them. And it's not that the partner isn't necessarily listening, they just don't really have the skills to listen in such a way that they're demonstrating they're really, really getting it, or they really, really are interested, because some of the techniques I used was just parroting back what you said, pretty much just giving it back to you in a little summary, or just clarifying, am I getting this right, asking a few questions, and sort of saying, so this is how you're feeling, and that kind of makes it very real, you know, and somebody's acknowledging my feelings, somebody's acknowledging my feelings.
Exactly.
That feels good, doesn't it?
It does.
Because when a person gets defensive and says, oh, no, you're completely wrong about that, or oh, no, your experience can't be right because it's not my experience. You're going into polar positions.
You are.
And when you go into polar positions, you're competing.
Yeah.
And then the next step is a fight, isn't it? It's conflict.
It is.
Because when a person doesn't feel heard, they don't feel validated, they don't feel valued, they don't feel the other person cares, and then we go from down the spiral of thinking, my husband doesn't care because he's not listening.
That's it.
Now that's not true. It's just that guys don't know how to do reflective listening, and they don't always validate a woman's experience. Now, I'll just say it like that because it generally tends to be guys that don't know how to talk. They don't know how to listen. They don't know how to give it back to the wife in such a way that she wants it.
Yeah.
So guys are fixers. Naturally, they're wired to be the fixer and to fix things. So they're little project managers, and they will instantly say things like, "Oh, well, have you tried this?" or "Have you tried that?"
Yeah.
But the woman just actually wants to vent. She just wants to, to say it out loud, to have clarity, to vent and get it off her chest. She doesn't actually want it fixed, or it may not be fixable, or maybe it's just something she's got to let it go.
That's it.
But she just needs to get it out so that she's not carrying it around or carrying a grievance or venting or sulking. She just wants to have it out, and we want to do that to another person, and we want to be validated by that person. So if the husband says, "Oh, that sounds really rotten for you. It sounds like it's really upset you," and then the wife goes, "Yeah, and da 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 da," and he goes, "Oh, really? Oh, that's terrible. Is there anything I can do to help?" And the wife say, "No, not really. I just need you to listen." So this is the thing, isn't it? It's just about the listening, the caring, and the holding a space for someone. It's not actually fixing. It's not actually going in and solving the problem, because often the problem can't be solved.
That's it.
With colleagues, workmates, family, often they are problems that aren't solvable. They're just ongoing things that tend to be about people that you have a little bit of difficulty with.
That's true.
But they're not always solvable. So coming in from a project manager's point of view doesn't work because it's not solvable. So a guy's next defence will be to jump on the defensive and say, "Oh, well, you're wrong," or "That can't be right," or "Maybe the other person's right and maybe you're wrong." And and because if they can't fix, they'll go on the defensive. But if they don't do any of that and all they do is listen and validate, it works, doesn't it?
Communication. That's it.
That's all the wife wants, and then she's happy and she can move on because she's let it go. Like, I've got it out, I'm all good now.
Let's go.
And then she's going to love her husband a little bit more because he listened to her and he held space for her and made her feel special and heard.
That's it.
And then then he gets cuddles at night. So there's always brownie points for reflective listening, isn't it?
Always.
They might have a date night that night because she's really happy with him, or she might make him an excellent dinner that night because he listened to her. So the flow and effect from listening is massive.
Very, very much.
And it affects the whole vibe of a family when parents are really hearing each other. So reflective listening, or active listening as it's known, it is vital in everyday life. I mean, we can use it with our relationships, with our workmates, with our bosses, with our children, with anyone. Salespeople use it all the time, don't they?
They do.
Because they find out what the person needs, ask lots of questions, gets it right down to whatever they need, to the point where they've solved all that their needs, and usually that person buys. Right? So it's also a technique for buying and selling. So I hope that's been some help. That's an exercise that we do often in couples counselling. It's very, very popular, and once you've learnt it, you've done it for a few times, and you get your head around it, because it does take a little bit of getting used to. You'll use it for the rest of your life, and it's probably something we should learn at school, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Be really, really wonderful.
It should do, absolutely.
All right, so that's reflective listening and active listening. Hope it's been helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Bye.